instantly accessible in France. It's not published. It's not in France. Is it illegal? Is it not illegal? How can you stop it? It's quite terrifying to people who must have control.
You watched the cassette?
Yeah.
And?
Changed my life.
I'm not surprised. It's dangerous, you know.
But once again, I think it's much better for everyone to know what's really out there. It's never helped to pretend that things aren't there and then allow them to get so strong that they can bite you.
What kind of teeth do you think it has?
It triggered off a series of hallucinations. I woke up with a headache.
First time ever?
No, I'd been hallucinating for a while, ever since...
What?
Since I first saw Videodrome.
I'm completely opposed to censorship of any kind when it comes to adults censoring adults. I do believe in, let's say, a classification system for cinema, possibly even for video, because I do think that a child at a certain stage of development can be overwhelmed by imagery that he's not ready for, and so on. That's very conventional of me.
I mean, I actually am worried about images that I put out now. I used to not care. I mean, maybe it's because I have children of my own now. But it does make you worry when you see behavior on the streets. I don't think that's a reason to restrict the work at all. I think there needs to be a reasonable way of distributing the work. I mean, I think there does have to be some responsibility.
Well, if someone were to call and say, you're irresponsible for making this film, and the BBC is irresponsible for showing them, and I would say, well, then you're irresponsible for watching them. All you have to do is switch it off. I mean, you don't have to watch it.
You know, as a young man, you know, I was very against censorship, you know, in all its forms, you know, and I think, but recently, I rented an American movie called Seven, you know, a mainstream American movie in the, of the Silence of the Lambs type of thriller. It's really disgusting. You know, it's absolutely disgusting. It's horrible. I mean, it's not entertaining. It's perverse and nasty in a kind of in a way that sort of, I hate to sound like Mary Whitehouse, you know, but it kind of cheapens the viewer. It's brutalizing. I
mean, my hope is that fantasy doesn't do that. You know, maybe Quentin Tarantino does that more than a zombie would, or that, you know, than I would, or Cronenberg, or one of them. But, you know, I can't even say that. How can you say it? It's unarguable.
The funny thing is that a film like Seven will play in the cinema, whereas what is allegedly hardcore pornography, i.e. where you see a guy with a boner and they have sex with a woman who has sex organs and things like that, that's far more offensive in the end to the censorious.
Most censors really don't look at context because it's too complex, it's too open to interpretation, so there are just certain images that are proscribed, and we see that in the militant wings of many people's politics, whether it's feminist or left-wing or whatever.
You know, most boards of censorship or most rating panels become very political, and, you know, it's like everything else. It's very hard to find a kind of a common ground.
There's also a kind of sense of being image police, that if you destroy the image, you will destroy the thing itself.
What are you waiting for, lover? Let's perform. Let's open those neural floodgates.
Certain images are proscribed. You must not see them because the images themselves are the actions. And that confusion is psychosis. I mean, medically speaking, if you cannot tell the difference between fantasy and reality, you're a psychotic. And that puts many of the censors in that category. It's quite a strange phenomenon. The idea that people will do copycat things and so on completely spontaneously, that they wouldn't have done anything bad until they saw this movie, is a joke. It's a complete inability to read the complexity of human psychology. And of course, if you're a filmmaker and you're dealing with actors and characters, the complexity of human psychology is what you work with all the time. And it is very difficult stuff indeed.
The Cronenberg style in action next on BBC Two with Videodrome.